Hello YouTube! Today I'm going to be going over a garden you've probably never heard of. This garden has over 270,000 plants and approximately 95,000 azaleas, on top of natural bubbling springs and ravines that are as deep as 120 feet with 45-degree angles from the outer perimeter to the bottom where the spring rivers run. This is the craziest place in Florida. You wouldn't imagine it being in Florida. You feel like you're in the Carolinas when you're here. And this is in PALATKA, Florida, being the highest point on the east coast of Florida at approximately 120 feet above sea level. Here's a map of the park. You can see the ravine is like a U-shaped soup bowl, and it ultimately feeds retention ponds that supply water to the city. If you think you've spent a lot of money establishing your garden, our government back in 1933 spent approximately $160,000 for the proposed project. And this funding was used to create gardens, build roads, structures, employ workers from the local community. And then there was additional funding again of another $150,000. An obelisk dedicated to Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was the president at the time, was erected in appreciation for his contribution during the economic hardships of the Great Depression in the 1930s. Looking at these old state flags of Florida, I sometimes wonder where they got these mountains from to have depicted in the background, since Florida doesn't have any mountains, but this Ravines State Park is about the closest I can find resemblance to. The drive down here from the Jacksonville area, it's very laid back. It's not like typical Florida areas like I-75 or I-95. It's not a concrete jungle. It's very woodsy, very rural. It kind of reminds you of a time in the past, like an old Florida time, where you see trees, woods, wildlife, creeks, all the things that give you peace of mind going somewhere. It really sets up a good vibe for coming to this park. I would like to get some feedback with the background music. This is a song I made using GarageBand, but I actually played real drums on it. And I'm using these for fun for my videos. And I'll be using them in future videos. If you can, like and subscribe if you like it. That'd be much appreciated. Here is one of the spring runs when you're walking down the main valley. Well, there's really two main valleys. One of them is heavily wooded though. It's almost like a swamp. This one's more open. This one's very pedestrian friendly. The other one, you really can't walk up too far because it kind of looks more like what you see back there outside of the grass. And this area has a lot of wildlife. There's plenty of snakes, there's alligators, everything you can imagine that would be in Florida. One time we were walking the trails here and we came across a king snake. And, you know, you always wonder, is it a king snake or a coral snake? And then you're doing the rhyme in your head that you remembered, like white on black, good for Jack or bad for Jack, but you can never remember it. But there happened to be a guy walking down the trail and he saw the king snake at the same time. And he ended up picking it up and he knew what it was. So, yeah, you just gotta be careful when you're out in nature. You never know what you'll encounter. Even while I'm walking down these trails, I'm mainly looking for water moccasins because that's the number one danger that you can encounter out here, realistically. I'm sure there's rattlesnakes and whatnot, but they're a lot less likely to be around. There's numerous bridges. There's boardwalks. They have this catwalk bridge. It's probably 25 feet high and it stretches a couple 100 feet or so. It's pretty remarkable. It almost makes you feel like you're at Disney World when you walk across it. I do have video footage of it. We're walking under it. Right here, you can see it coming up. They have it suspended with steel wires. And it overlooks the valley with one of the main spring runs coming through it. I didn't catch it on this video, but on the right-hand side of where that bridge is, there's a calamandan tree there, a citrus tree that it's probably 40 feet tall. It's absolutely huge. And there's so many citrus trees in this area that are so well established, yet they don't have greening disease, which I find really remarkable because greening disease has essentially wiped out the citrus industry in Florida. But when you walk through these woods and you see these established citrus trees, none of them have succumbed to any of the greening disease. And this area has citrus groves, maybe not within the city of PALATKA, but on the outskirts, there's definitely groves. And the fact that this area hasn't had any greening, it just makes me wonder that if there's something with permaculture that prevents the disease from happening, whether there's a correlation with oak tree leaves maybe falling to the ground and maybe they do something with the soil that prevents the disease from taking foot. It's just something I think about. There's groves that get the greening disease that are next to hammocks with oak trees, and the lines of orange trees that are closest to the oak tree groves don't have it, but all the other plants do, moving away from the woods. So the moral of the story is you should have oak trees and other plants on your property to be companion plants with your citrus trees if you're trying to grow citrus. I think that makes a big difference, and you should mulch with that material. Those are my 2 cents. Speaking of citrus, I'm taking a walk here down this trail. This is on the edge of the ravine on the high point. And you can see I'm videotaping some citrus trees here. These are very tall citrus trees. That looks like calamandan again. And then coming up here, there's a sour orange tree. And I know it's a sour orange because when I came here several months back, the last time I was visiting, this tree had sour oranges on it. And right now it's in full bloom. So it's that time of year where all the fruit is fallen off. You can see the blooms there. It's really cool. I've taken cuttings from all these different trees and grafted them on my property, so I have them in pots. I've planted a couple of them, but just to have a couple wild varieties And I like sour oranges. I like making drinks out of them. The drinks taste a lot like orange Gatorade when you mix a little sweetener in it. I like mixing stevia personally because I don't want to have the sugar, but it's better than lemonade in my opinion. It's very refreshing. And if you're into alcoholic beverages, it makes one heck of a amaretto sour with the sour orange. I remember I made one for my neighbor and he told me that was the best drink he ever had. But it's not a good habit to get into because you can't have just one. They taste so good. And you can see the ravine drop here. It's pretty deep. This is not one you'd want to fall down on, I'll say that. The video doesn't do any justice. When you're there, I mean, it is steep. With the exception of the Panhandle, I really can't think of anywhere else in Florida that has this type of landscape. It's just remarkable. It's almost dreamy to me. I love visiting this park, and it's only $5 to get in. What a bargain. And this is the drive back out of the park following along the river. And places like this are just disappearing more and more in Florida, unfortunately. That right there is the St. Johns River, and you can see the bridge up ahead. That's the bridge that connects to PALATKA over the St. Johns River. Well, I had a lot of fun sharing my experience here with Ravines State Park. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one.